Hello, I'm your super teacher Gorby, and today we'll be learning about floodgates. People generally hate, and I mean really hate floodgates. But what are floodgates? Floodgates are a card with a continuous effect that restricts one or both players from performing some action. It is different from a negate since negates stop an individual action as opposed to floodgates, which are continuous. So today I'll be going over a couple of the most popular floodgates out there and how they impact the game. There can be only one. As long as this card is on the field, both players can only have one monster of each monster type on the field. So, if your deck is full of monsters, you can only have one warrior monster on the field, while there can only be one is on the field. So, when it comes to cards like these, there are some complicated rulings you need to know. You cannot even attempt to summon another monster of the same type. So let's say you want to tribute your warrior monster for another warrior monster. You can tribute the monster and set it, but you cannot summon it. If a monster is face down, its monster type is treated as unknown. If your deck follows a certain theme in the sense of like all the monsters follow one certain type, like you're playing all warriors or you're playing all spellcasters, all zombies, all dragons, your deck will definitely struggle against there can be only one because you really can't perform and put a board full of your favorite monsters if you can only have one monster of that type on the board at a time. Very difficult to handle. The card Goes and Match does the same thing except instead of one monster of each monster type, it is you can only control one attribute of a monster, so you can't even attempt to summon a monster that is of the different attributes than what you already have on the field. So, if you got a fire monster on the field, you can only have fire monsters on the field. If you have a dark monster on the field, you can only have dark monsters on the field. Yep, diversity doesn't exist apparently. Rivalry of the Warlords is similar to There Can Be Only One in that they both pertain to monster types, but instead it has it so that you can only control one monster type. So if you play machine monsters, you can only have machine monsters face up on the field. Summon Limit is a card that limits players to only having up to 2 monsters summoned in a turn, so this card is perfect for all those players who often complain about monster spamming. Dimensional Barrier, upon activation, stops the summoning of an Xyz, Fusion, Pendulum, Ritual, or Secret monster for the rest of the turn. So if your opponent has a specific strategy, you can activate this card and cut them off from trying to summon certain monsters on the field. So if you're playing against a player who has a deck built around Synchros, you activate this card, you declare Synchros, and now your opponent cannot summon Synchros for the rest of the turn. Floodgates don't have to be just trap cards. Floodgates may also be monsters and spell cards. Dimension Shifter is a monster hand trap that if there are no cards in your graveyard, you can quick effect, send this card to the graveyard, and until the end of the next turn, all cards go to the banished zone instead of the graveyard. So if your deck needs the graveyard in order to plays, Dimension Shifter prevents you from doing any of that. Skill Drain and Destiny Hero Plasma serve the same role as being a card that has continuous negating of effects of face-up monsters on the field. Destiny Hero Plasma being a one-sided negate as it only negates your opponent's monsters. If you hate seeing your opponent constantly activating monster effects on the field, then these cards are for you. Dimensional Fissure, Macrocosmos, Destiny Hero Dark Law, and Cash Hero Arise Hearts all have the continuous effect of cards being banished instead of going to the graveyard. Artifact Lancia, when activated from the hand, prevents cards from being banished for the rest of the turn. Artifact Scythe, when it is summoned, locks your opponent out from special summoning a monster from the extra deck. Imperial Order negates all face-up spell cards on the field. Jin Zone Royal Decree negates all trap cards on the field. Pendulum Area allows only pendulum monsters to be special summoned on the field for the turn. There are more floodgates in the game, and the topic of whether or not floodgates are good for the game's health is entirely subjective. While there are degenerate cards out there that outright stop you from playing the game, like Utopic Sexel and Elemental Hero Cosmoneos, floodgates serve the same purpose as multiple interruption boards, in that the purpose is of stopping your opponent from successfully performing actions for their strategies in order to win. Floodgate cards or decks built around floodgates are just a bit more transparent about it. Everybody claims they just want interaction, back and forth gameplay, but the truth is, we really don't. Everybody claims that they want interactive back and forth gameplay, but the truth is that we really don't. It's just a general nice thing to say, and floodgates break the illusion of players wanting interactivity in their game. I will use Heroes as an example. It's a Floodgate turbo deck that pretends to be a technical combo deck, ending on a board that prevents your opponent from activating monster effects and or using their graveyard. Cosmoneos and Yugioh turbo decks prevent your opponent from activating any card on the field, but they are summoned under the illusion that they are a fast technical combo deck. Floodgate based strategies typically don't win tournaments, but they are very powerful strategies that are so invasive that if you lose to one, it is very demoralizing. Floodgates are not everyone's cup of tea, and if you play a Floodgate strategies in your deck, you will definitely get some strange looks. But if your goal is to win and you think Floodgates can get you to that position, then feel free to do so. The Floodgate card, Mystic Mine, helped the Sky Striker deck win a YCS back in 2022. You are free to play whatever deck you want, however you want, but be ready to face some criticisms. That does it for today's lesson. Thank you for tuning in. Feel free to hit like and subscribe if you want to. You totally don't have to, you don't want to do so, but really cool if you did. And so hopefully you do well in today's quiz, and until next time, see you later.
It's quiz time!